The movie is an Eephus pitch.
Yeah.
Because it seems super slow and like nothing is happening. And then eventually it hits the plate and it's like, oh, okay.
From the people behind Christmas Eve at Miller's Point, another film they had at the Directors Fortnight at Cannes 2024, now hitting U.S. theaters, it's Eephus.
I'm so excited to talk to you about Eephus. So happy to watch this and talk to you about it because there's so much here that I got that like maybe you did not, and I'm excited to share that with you. It's good stuff. It's not just about baseball either. It's other very specifically regional stuff. So if you think we're doing the Californians only about LA, oh no, we can do it about Nashua, New Hampshire too. This is my husband's hometown. So come hang out with us, come subscribe because we are granular, we're big picture, and we're granular. And when there's a cool little indie like this that gets a ton of buzz, we will catch up with it for you and chat about it with you. So here we are. This is the kind of thing that you like. Come hang out with us too.
You play ball, kid?
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor. Don't.
Eephus takes place across the course of a single day.
Yes.
It is the mid-90s, but really it could be a lot of different times, and I want to get into that eventually here, the suspension of time and place. It is this baseball field in Douglas, Massachusetts, where these two teams in this like mature older guys league, middle-aged guys league, they get together, and this is the last
like the whale shit senior hockey on Shoresy.
There you go. These guys are like, you know, some of them are pretty good, some of them are terrible, but they've all been doing this for a long time, and this is a field they've been playing on for years, and this is the last game they're ever going to play there because this field is going to be torn down and they're going to build a school there instead. And so it takes place across the course of this one day. It is the Adler's Paint team versus the River Dogs, and director, co-writer, producer, and editor Carson Lund based a lot of this on his own love of baseball growing up in the 90s in beautiful Nashua, New Hampshire, which is right across the border from Massachusetts. And there's just an incredible sense of place and character. And it's just like a shaggy hang of a movie, you know, in the spirit of Christmas Eve at Miller's Point. You know, Carson Lund was the DP on that film. Tyler Taramina is a producer on this film. They all kind of help each other. And so it's the kind of movie where like everything happens and nothing happens. And it really gets the rhythms of, you know, playing baseball in general, you know, especially if it's just a fun recreational thing where you're just hanging out in the dugout and you're shooting the shit. And like maybe you get on base and you talk to the first baseman and like maybe, oh, you got to go run now. And the starts and stops of it.
Maybe someone's in the bleachers, maybe not.
Maybe not. And so there is so much specific to New England and New England baseball here. So first of all, do you know, or did you know prior to this film what an Eephus pitch was?
I did not, but the film very helpfully explains that. So
it does.
Now I do.
Yes, Bill Lee, who is the guy who comes in this movie and pitches later on, who they just call Lee here, legendary Red Sox pitcher, total character, came up with the Eephus pitch, or at least perfected it, and that was his thing. And so they explained that it's like a super slow pitch, and the delivery is really, really weird, and you don't really know what's coming, and it seems like it's never going to actually reach the plate, and it goes on forever. And so that's sort of a nice metaphor for the movie itself. The movie is an Eephus pitch. Because it seems super slow and like nothing is happening. And then eventually it hits the plate and it's like, oh, okay. I see what's going on here now. So Bill Lee comes in. The guy who is selling pizza in the little pizza truck is Joe Castiglione, who was the longtime Red Sox radio announcer who made the legendary call when the Sox finally won the World Series in 2004. Can you believe it? That's Joe Castig. And so what's cool about this is that you hear his voice before you see him. And so Carson Lund has said that he grew up listening to Sox games on WEEI, and like this is the voice of his childhood. And so it's a really cool choice, a sound design choice, that you hear him before you see him. Because I think if you grew up watching Red Sox games, it's unmistakable. It's totally recognizable.
It's also worth noting that the radio voice in this movie is Frederick Wiseman, the legendary documentary filmmaker. So
I guess they wanted to have Frederick Wiseman be the scorekeeper. and couldn't get him to do that. But like time wise, whatever. So he's the announcer. Did you know just from hearing his voice that was Frederick Wiseman?
No, I knew it from like the poster or something like that. I was like, oh, really? So I when it happened, I knew, oh, this must be the part where we hear Frederick Wiseman.
But it's really cool because it does something that I would ordinarily nitpick about, which is it kind of like it hopscotches all over in terms of its time influences, right? So like the Cars are from the 70s, but the boombox is from the 80s, but I guess it's set in the 90s. But then there's an old timey guy wearing a Nashua North baseball cap, and Nashua North High School didn't open until 2002. And so I actually really like this choice. Like usually I get super uptight about song choices, like Wonderwall didn't come out until 1995. But with this, I like it as a choice because it's like evocative of the haziness of memory and nostalgia. And that's what this movie is about.
We had the same conversation, if you recall, about Christmas Eve in Miller's Point, where you were convinced that it was set in the 90s because it is everything, everything's a little sort of old and whatever, but it's like, there's a cell phone and there's a Roomba and there's, I think they mentioned that 9/11 has happened. Like beyond that, it could be any time. And it's the same with this one. It's a bunch of guys playing baseball. Some of them are wearing the home uniforms. Some of them are wearing the away uniforms. The cars are all over the place. There's an IROC Z in this movie. So yeah, it could be any time between this year and this year, It
also could be any place because it takes place at this ballpark in Douglas, Massachusetts, which is down by Rhode Island. But the billboard behind the scorekeeper is for some store in Leominster, Mass, which is like northwest of Boston. It's far away. And then Nashua, which they reference on the radio and in a bunch of things, is in New Hampshire. And so it's sort of all over the place too, in terms of like, and it gives an amorphous kind of hazy quality. I gotta mention a couple of things. Just to geek out on you for 2 seconds here, if I may.
My husband's from Rye, all right? You don't have to be such a show off here.
I am. We can talk about Rye Playland too, if you want. We can go that far out to the coast. But like, okay, so the scorekeeper, the like sweet towny scorekeeper talks about
Franny.
how Franny does not need a ride home because he just lives right near Lita Lanes. Lita Lanes is a candlepin bowling alley in Nashua, New Hampshire, carpet on the walls. There's a bar called the Kegler's Den. Like it's super like small town bowling alley. They mentioned the Polish American Club at one point. Hey, did you ever go to the Polish American Club? Chris's grandfather used to be the bartender at the Polish American Club.
Wow.
I've been there. I've been to punk night there. Like they have Tejano night there. It's a trip to know these specific things. So I kind of love all of that because it's clearly so personal to Carson Lund, even though these places are nowhere near where the actual ballpark is. And I love like just the chatter of how random people kind of come in and watch the game. And like they hang out for an inning or two and then they leave. And then I love the fact that the game goes on till late at night, and how they end up lighting the field is a really beautifully inspired choice. And I think has to come from Carson Lund's DP background as far as how he staged that. Anyway, I thought it was really cool.
I love this movie. And, I always like to say, I don't like baseball, but I love baseball movies.
Yeah.
Because, they edit everything down to what you need. And it is a baseball movie, but it is much more, I think, more sort of, again, like Christmas Eve at Miller's Point, which is where you kind of get the impression this is the last year in this house. Like this is the last year before like grandma died. And then like maybe everybody sort of scattered off and they tried to kind of maintain the traditions and they didn't, but that's left to us to think about. And in this one, it's like, somebody talks about, we shall get together later and, at the bar, blah, blah, like, let's plan that for the winter. But it's
not going to happen.
Yeah, there's this ineffable moment that is going to be over once this field gets torn down and these teams don't play there anymore, and maybe they don't even exist anymore after this. And I love how these movies are, like you say, they're about nothing, but they're about everything, because the end of these moments in our lives is constantly happening. We're constantly doing something for the last time, whether or not we know it. And these movies kind of capture that sweet, like, perfection and sadness of a thing that is just not going to happen anymore.
It's ephemeral.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like neither of these films goes out of their way to like give you any kind of exposition. We have to sort of pay attention to who talks to each other how and what they say about each other to sort of get the things that we need to know about them. But like, it's all there. Like, you know, you come away from this, like you said, in the fleeting moments, it's like, well, okay, this is just what it is. But by the end of it, it's like you have been told a story. You have been brought into a group of characters and their relationships, and you feel the end of something. And I you know, Chris's Even Builder's Point was on my top 10 last year. This may well be on my top 10 this year. I really love this movie.
It's like a magic act, right? Because it's so like gentle, and so understated, and yet so much happens. A great example of the tone that Carson Lund finds here is that, like, seventh inning stretch, little girl gets up and sings, and it could have been so cheesy and like so mawkish, and like it's just like the right amount of like sentimental and absurd at the same time, and he finds that tone all throughout.
Yeah, and it's like it is cinematic, and also like, yeah, I can see that happening, you know.
Also, Franny is wearing a Nashua Pride baseball cap that was the minor league team in Nashua, New Hampshire. Anyway, I started watching this on the screener, and 10 minutes in, I'm like, I gotta stop. I gotta wait till Chris gets home, and I gotta watch it with him. So much more fun watching it together. So even if you don't have these specific geographical touchstones, I think you can recognize that they are specific to the person who made this film.
Totally, yes.
You know, and there's a universality in the sentiment.
Yeah,
You know?
it is a memory piece, but it is something that everybody can kind of hook into with their own memories, you know.
Yes. So what's your number then?
I'm saying 9.5. I really love this movie. I want people to go see it.
Yes, I will say 9.2, and I'm so glad we caught up with it. I think it's trickling out. It was New York a couple weeks ago, and then LA. I think it's going out wider. I know it's in Boston. So check it out. It's not at all what you think it's going to be, and yet it's everything. Enjoy it.
Yeah, and if you didn't see Chris's Even Miller's Point, go watch it. Doesn't even have to be Christmas time. You'll love it.